Callista raised the champagne bottle high and said, "To family, and knowing our place." Then the cold poured down my hair and silence filled the room. I didn't flinch. I just took the mic and said, "Now we're clear about places." And that was only the beginning. The reception hall shimmered like something out of a bridal magazine. Polished floors, lemon scent lingering from the morning cleaning, a soft hum from the string quartet tuning their instruments. I took it all in while tightening the clasp of my emerald shawl. "Breathe, Eudora. Smile for your boy," I whispered. That was my quiet reminder. I handed the shawl to the coat girl with a small nod. "Thank you, sweetheart." She smiled politely, already turning toward the next guest. The seating chart stood near the entrance, printed on pearly cardstock inside a gilded frame. I scanned for Mother of the Groom. The fonts curled like vines, but nowhere did my name appear. There was Rourke family, bridal party, even Johnson Pediatrics colleagues, not a single mention of Vance. I leaned closer, thinking maybe it was listed under something else. A young usher approached, tablet in hand. "Ma'am, can I help you find your table?" His voice carried that eager politeness of someone new to the job. "Yes," I said softly. "I'm Eudora Vance, the groom's mother." He tapped at the screen. "Let's see. I don't see that. Ma'am, maybe under guest of—" I smiled faintly. "No, son, I'm not anyone's guest. I'm his mother." The silence that followed was thick enough to taste. He looked down, helpless. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It's all right, yeah?" Replied, folding my hands. "I'll wait." I stepped aside as couples floated past, the women glittering in sequins, the men tugging at crisp lapels. The perfume clouded the air, expensive and cold. Nobody noticed me standing alone. Callista, my new daughter-in-law, breezed by adjusting a centerpiece. Her diamond bracelet caught the light. Her eyes never met mine. I wandered toward the program board, its edges trimmed with white roses. The title read, "Those We Honor." I traced the names slowly, careful not to smudge the glass with my fingertips. Rourke Foundation, Dr. and Mrs. Rourke, wedding sponsors. No Eudora Vance? Not even Mother of the Groom. I chuckled under my breath, the sound too dry to be mistaken for humor. "Well now, isn't that tidy?" A flicker of irritation warmed my chest. I looked around for another board, another sign. Nothing. Then I saw it. Callista's mother's name, printed twice. Once as host, once as mentor. Subtle but loud. I took out my phone, snapped a discreet photo of the board. "Excuse me," I asked the usher again. "Was there an edit made today?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "The bride finalized everything around noon." "Then this is intentional," I murmured. If they could print me out, they couldn't erase what I knew. I found Silas near the head table, straightening his cufflinks. "Baby, quick question. Where am I sitting?" He hesitated, eyes darting toward his bride. "Mom, they handled seating. Handled me off the page, too?" I asked, voice level. "Please," he whispered, "don't make waves tonight." I touched his hand gently. "I won't drown anyone. Silas, I just plan to swim." A pair of guests passed behind us, murmuring, "Such a classy event," another added. "Impeccable." I almost laughed. The planner shooed me from a chair. "This one's for photos, ma'am." I stepped back, my smile thin as glass. In my mind, I took inventory. Photos saved, names memorized, vendor badges noted. My rule had always been simple. Never argue with rooms built to silence you. Document them instead. Callista's laugh rang out across the hall. It sliced through the air like a champagne cork popping. I caught the glint of her nails as she gestured toward the photographer. I moved to a corner near the bandstand and stood tall, back straight. From there, I could see the whole stage, the microphone gleaming under the spotlights. I opened the Notes app on my phone, thumb hovering as I typed, still 4:32 p.m. Program omits mother, witnesses abundant. My reflection flickered in the polished piano lid. "You can erase a name," I whispered, "but you can't erase a voice." The MC stepped forward, tapping the mic. A hush rippled through the crowd. I lifted my chin, already knowing exactly where I'd be standing before the night was over. The MC's voice rolled over the speakers, clear and too polished. I eased away from the crowd, tracing the outer rim of the ballroom like someone pacing the edge of a swimming pool. My shawl sat neatly over one arm, my fingers resting against the silk. "All right, Eudora. Shoulders back, chin up. You raised a good man," I whispered. The words steadied me more than the water glass I held. A server offered champagne, but I shook my head. "I'm good with water. Honey." The band slipped from classical strings to a soft jazz trio, music that said the show's begun. I glanced toward the AV booth. 2 wireless mics blinked green, a printed schedule clipped in place. I filed that away. Silas caught my eye across the room. His smile was careful, almost apologetic. I gave him a small nod that meant, "Not now, baby. I see you." 2 bridesmaids near the dessert table giggled behind manicured hands. "Her dress is bold," one murmured. "Emerald's a statement." Their smirks told me exactly what kind of statement they thought it was. The planner looped a velvet rope around 3 empty chairs, muttering, "These are for photos only." I moved aside, another tiny correction of my place. Someone brushed my shoulder. "Excuse me, staff." Then realizing, "Oh, sorry, I smiled politely, jotting a quiet note on my phone. 5:14 p.m., Rope added, mistaken for staff. Around me floated compliments. "So elegant. Impeccable taste," all directed at the Rourkes. I whispered under my breath, "Let them polish the floor. I'll polish the truth." Callista approached. Every inch the bride from a lifestyle magazine. "Eudora, that color is fearless." The pause cut sharper than scissors. "We went with a neutral palette, but individuality is lovely." Guests nodded as if applauding her civility. "So vibrant. Very you," they chimed in, those backhanded pats wrapped in sugar. I ran my palm over the emerald fabric, feeling its strength. "I didn't come to blend into the walls," I said. Her gaze darted to the videographer, always aware of angles. "Let's keep things picture perfect tonight," she said, smiling like it was a prayer. "I always do," I replied. She drifted toward the MC, whispering over his shoulder. Her manicured hand lingered on the mic stand. I watched, quiet, clocking every movement. A planner adjusted flowers near me as if I were invisible. I stepped aside. I texted Raphael, my quiet ally from the catering staff, "Get footage of board plus toast audio." Silas passed close by. "Deep breath, baby," I told him. "Enjoy your night." His shoulders eased. The lights dimmed to amber. The crowd softened to expectation. I mapped exits, mic cables, aisles, the habits of someone used to reading rooms that pretend she's not there. Callista's voice filled the hall. "On behalf of the Rourke family, thank you for celebrating our son." The words landed heavy. Our son. She praised Maeve twice. Thanked every mentor who shaped this man. I wasn't one of them. "It takes a village," she said. "And we are that village." Applause burst on cue. "To the woman who taught Silas to love with discipline, Mom." She turned and hugged Maeve like it was scripture. Glasses clinked. Camera flashes popped. I stayed seated, sipping my water, pulse even. One server hesitated, sensing something off but saying nothing. "Here's to family. Chosen, proven, and ready." The word chosen rang like a gavel. I opened my phone beneath the table and typed 5:27. Toast erases mother, double mention Maeve. Then I smiled directly into the camera lens. Howard's voice drifted from memory. "Don't swing first, Eudora." Make them swing at the mirror. I inhaled slow. 4 counts in, 6 out. Calm blood makes a clear mind. I photographed the podium notes when the MC turned. The AV logo gleamed. Another breadcrumb. Backup audio. Confirm. Raphael replied with a subtle thumbs up from across the room. I reviewed my growing list. Seating omission. Program omission, misidentification, toast erasure. 4 strikes. I wouldn't correct her in noise. I'd correct her in evidence. In the restroom, I met my reflection under warm light. I dabbed at a champagne droplet on my sleeve. Straightened my hearing aid. A woman drying her hands smiled. "You look beautiful, ma'am," I answered. Took me 68 years to grow this backbone." She laughed softly, not knowing the truth in it. I practiced once. "Good evening. My name is Eudora Vance, mother of the Groom." Perfect. My phone battery read full. I had a spare in my clutch. I lifted my chin and smiled, not for vanity, but for readiness. Back in the ballroom, the planner gestured for parents' photos. "Immediate family first," she said, blocking me with an arm. "I am immediate family," I replied evenly. Her eyes flicked to Callista, who gave the smallest shake of her head. I didn't back away fully. "I'll stand right there when you're ready," I said. Silas looked pained. I offered him a quiet nod. "Not now." A bridesmaid bit her lip. An uncle frowned. People were noticing. That was enough. The MC's voice boomed again. A very special surprise. Applause rippled. I took one measured step toward the aisle, fingers brushing the phone's voice memo icon. "You can erase my name from paper," I whispered, "but not from the air." I looked toward the light, knowing which microphone would carry my name before the night was done. The ballroom's noise faded as I slipped through the service hallway, trading music and laughter for the hum of ice machines and the clatter of trays. The air back here smelled of metal and lemon cleaner. Truth never wears perfume. I followed the laminated map on the wall toward the AV booth. Squinting enough to read but remembering every turn, a young server passed by, pushing a cart of empty glasses. "You okay, ma'am?" he asked. "I'm steady, baby. Just finding some air," I said. My phone's notes showed 4 entries, each one a quiet scar. I added another. Check slideshow names. My breath came even, the same rhythm I'd learned from grief yoga years ago. 4 counts in, 6 out. Calm isn't surrender, it's ammunition. And if something lives on a screen, it leaves a trail. The AV booth was tucked behind black curtains, wires snaking like roots across the carpet. A young technician hunched over a laptop, clicking through slides. "Excuse me, honey," I said gently. "Does this show list photo sources?" He nodded, scrolling. The folder read, "Family Montage _ Final 2. I leaned in and saw the thumbnails. Maeve holding Silas in a Little League uniform. Maeve at his graduation. Maeve lighting candles at Christmas. None with me. Not one. A sticky note on the monitor said, "Remove duplicates, correct labels, bride." My name wasn't duplicated, it was deleted. I lifted my phone, discreet, capturing 2 photos, one of the playlist screen, one of that note, and the booth clock glowing 5:53. The text said, "Bride locked the final at noon." "Then noon's when the edit became policy," I replied softly. I typed into my notes. "Montage omits mother. Directive proof captured. I found Silas near the corridor exit, fiddling with his tie, nerves crawling under his skin." "Son," I said before he could speak, "I'm not here to embarrass you. I'm here not to vanish up." He sighed, eyes darting toward the dance floor. "Mom, it's just optics. Callista's family wants consistency." "Consistency isn't character, baby," I said evenly. "It's a costume." He looked down. "Please don't." "I won't shout," I cut in, "but one more public strike, and I'll correct the record with documentation." He nodded, defeated, and I pressed a kiss to his cheek. "I raised you to know the difference." As I turned away, voices drifted from the ballroom edge. The planner whispered to the MC, "Bride wants only the parents of influence on stage." That phrase landed like a stamp on my skin. I stepped closer. The planner blinked, startled, then plastered on a smile. "We're just on schedule, ma'am." I pressed record on my phone, voice memo running quiet behind my shawl. Callista entered, all grace and gloss, murmuring to the MC. Her finger tapped the run sheet, circling surprise acknowledgments. He nodded, deferential. She didn't so much as glance at me. Control always pretends blindness. I updated my note. Phrase, parents of influence, evidence logged. The server from earlier appeared, wheeling his cart. "What's your name, baby?" I asked. "Eli," he said, uncertain. "You've got good eyes. Eli. Keep them open tonight." He smiled shyly. Another witness, even if he didn't know it yet. I snapped the framed program again, catching Maeve's reflection in the glass, a ghost where my name should be. I practiced my one line quietly. "Good evening. My name is Eudora Vance, mother of the groom." The tone would be calm, church clear, no heat, all light. I slipped my phone into airplane mode, power saved, focus sharpened, back in the main hall. The MC lined up the immediate family photo. The planner's arm blocked me again. Polite but firm. "Immediate family only," she said. "I am immediate family," I answered, quiet but unmovable. Callista posed in the center, Maeve at her side, a floral arrangement where I should have been. I stood 15 feet away, visible, uninvited. The camera's flash caught me anyway. Some guests turned, murmuring. An older aunt frowned. The truth was beginning to show on its own. I logged one last entry, 6:06, photo exclusion noticed by guests. Callista accepted a flute of champagne from a server, turning toward me. Her smile was polished, perfect, rehearsed. She stepped closer, slow as a cat crossing marble. I didn't move. Our eyes met, hers bright with triumph, mine calm as glass. The room quieted, watching us like a scene waiting for its cue. The bubbles in her glass sparkled sharp as tacks under the lights, and in that frozen moment, I decided exactly how this was going to end. Callista moved toward me with a glossy grin, her heels slicing the silence between us. The flute of champagne tilted just slightly. The move, disguised as playful, people leaned closer, waiting for a punchline that wasn't theirs to pay for. The glass tipped. Cold bubbles burst against my scalp and rolled down my neck, soaking the shoulders of my jacket. I didn't flinch. My hands stayed loose at my sides, my spine unbroken. A few gasps scattered through the air, followed by nervous laughter, the kind of laughter that buys safety. I memorized who laughed first. A young server rushed over with napkins. "I'm all right, baby," I said softly, meeting his worried eyes. Callista leaned close, her voice sugar-coated. Some colors stained so easily. I looked straight ahead and breathed. 4 in, 6 out. My emerald dress shimmered under the lights, and the room turned into my witness. I declined the napkins, smoothing my shawl instead. The nearest wireless mic sat exactly where I'd noted earlier, right side of the stage, beside the band's monitor. I moved toward it, slow and steady, as if walking through water. My rule had always been don't swat, pivot, don't clean, claim. I lifted my phone, hit record, the lens catching the crowd behind me. The band leader caught my movement and lowered the volume instinctively. Experience taught him when an elder woman walked forward with intent. "You let her." Silas took a step as if to intercept. I lifted my palm, a gentle signal. "Stay." The MC looked torn, glancing from Callista to me. I gave him one word, clear as a courtroom bell. "Mike." When the mic hit my hand, the hum of feedback quieted the chatter. I stood center stage, champagne still dripping from my curls, and smiled just enough. "Good evening," I said. "My name is Eudora Vance, mother of the groom." The hush that followed was thick and alive. I let it sit. 2 full beats. I was seated, labeled and edited as if I were optional. I am not optional to my son's life. The truth carried its own music. I didn't point fingers, didn't say names. "You may wipe a dress," I continued, "but you don't wipe out a mother." The line landed like clean thunder. I raised my water glass. "We toast with respect, or we don't toast at all." Heads turned toward Callista without my help. "Amen," someone said from the back. Another woman murmured, "That's right." The current in the room shifted. The young server who'd brought me napkins stepped closer, steadying the mic stand with quiet loyalty. The planner at the aisle dropped her arm, velvet rope sliding back a few inches. Maeve's jaw tensed, her hand lifted, then faltered. Silas stood taller, buttoning his jacket like a man remembering who taught him grace. I took a slow breath. "We can keep celebrating," I said, calm as a sermon, "but we'll do it with dignity. That's my preference." Callista tried to laugh it off. "It was a playful toast." Her cue hung in the air, dying where humor goes to hide. She reached for the spare mic, but the MC froze, his hand hovering protectively over the one I held. I turned slightly toward the guests, my tone even. Play isn't play when it asks one person to be the punchline. Murmurs spread like wind through wheat. I gestured to the back. And editing a mother out of her son's story isn't an oversight, it's a decision. The AV tech at the booth stiffened. Guilt written in posture. I softened my gaze towards Silas. A family builds by adding chairs, not removing names. I didn't threaten, I clarified. Tonight's choices have been documented, I said plainly. If I need to, I'll correct the record myself. The videographer lowered his camera, then raised it again. Realizing history was standing in front of him, the MC cleared his throat. Would you like to lead the toast, ma'am? Yes, I said. To the couple. May you never confuse optics with character, nor style with substance. I sipped water. The sound of glass on glass followed, uneven but sincere. I handed back the microphone, pausing only long enough to add, after the slideshow, I'll show you a picture you haven't seen. But Callista froze, her smile a little too tight. Maeve's eyes darted toward the program board. The AV tech swallowed. I walked off the stage, unhurried, my steps echoing steady as a clock. I took my rightful seat in the front row. No rope, no permission required. The air around me was quiet, electric, waiting for what came next. They could control the program, but not me. The MC leaned toward me, voice low. Miss Vance, we're starting the slideshow now. I nodded once. Roll it. The ballroom dimmed. Lights softened to amber. Silverware stilled, screens on both sides glowed to life, and I felt the collective inhale of the crowd, ready to believe whatever story they were fed. I stood halfway down the aisle, far enough to see both screens and every face between them. Silas hovered behind me, uncertain. I turned slightly and raised my palm. Stay. He did. Callista and Maeve sat side by side, the reflection of the screens flickering over their perfect posture. The planner crouched near the AV door like a guard at a gate. My phone was already recording from my purse. Wide frame, steady hand, Sunday calm. The first photos played. Silas's first birthday, a bicycle with training wheels, his middle school band concert. I'd taken most of those pictures. But something was wrong. Every image that should have had me in it didn't. A cropped arm here. An empty space where a mother should be. One photo labeled Camp Counselor, Maeve Torin. I remembered that day. I'd been wearing a citrus yellow coat, holding the camera in my other hand. The room murmured. A woman near the cake table whispered, "Where's his mama?" Another added. That's strange. My throat didn't tighten. I'd expected this. The next photo showed Silas in his graduation cap, the caption reading, Mentorship, Maeve Torin. My handwriting had been erased. I let 3 more slides pass. The pattern spoke louder than outrage ever could. I said quietly, more to the air than anyone. This is what omission looks like. The nearest table straightened. Realizing I wasn't talking metaphor, I walked toward the AV booth. The planner shifted to block me. I angled my shoulder and kept walking. Slow, deliberate. The young tech looked up, startled. Ma'am? Open your inputs, I said evenly. Duplicate the live feed to input 3. He blinked but obeyed. Confidence can sound a lot like authority. I laid my USB drive on the console, label facing him. Family Originals, Vance. Check the timestamp, I told him, showing him the sticky note photo from my phone. Bride's directive, not yours. He hesitated, then nodded, grateful to have truth passed like a permission slip. My images appeared in the preview, uncropped. My name intact. When I speak my name, I said. You cut to input 3. Back in the aisle, I lifted my hand. The band softened, as if the entire evening had rehearsed this moment without knowing it. Pause the montage, I said. The screen froze mid-frame, Maeve labeled as mentor. Into the stillness, I spoke clearly. My name is Eudora Vance, mother of the Groom. The AV tech made the switch. Both screens filled with color. Me and Silas at kindergarten orientation. Me holding him at Lake Barkley. his senior night with my hand on his shoulder. The captions rolled as I'd written them years ago. First steps with Mama. He hated the training wheels. We cried at the anthem, both of us. The air shifted. Someone clapped once. Another followed. It grew. Not loud, but sure. Applause that sounded like people reclaiming good sense. Callista shot up from her chair. "That wasn't authorized," Maeve joined her, voice tight. "The final version was approved at noon." I didn't turn toward them. "These are originals," I said. "Time-stamped, documented. Authorization came from life." A guest near the back shouted. "Let the mama speak," another added. "Show the rest." The planner's phone lit up with messages. She looked down and froze. The crowd had already chosen sides. Silas didn't move to calm anyone. He stared at the screen, at me, younger, holding him, and nodded like a man remembering his truest name. I lifted my phone, scrolling to an email, and for clarity, I said the venue's harassment clause. The room quieted again. "Any guest subjected to targeted humiliation may request immediate review. Program alterations must not erase immediate family—" I paused. "I've already requested that review. If this erasure continues, it will live on your event record before midnight. I wasn't threatening. I was setting the clock." Callista's color drained. Maeve's hand trembled as she smoothed her skirt. The planner's shoulders sagged. I ended it clean. "We can celebrate in truth. Or we can spend tomorrow explaining receipts." The final slide lingered. A baby Silas asleep on my chest, his tiny fist clutching my gold locket. I whispered, "That's my boy." A few guests whispered it back. I handed the mic to the MC and walked back to my seat. The aisle cleared like parted water. No rope, no hesitation. The screens dimmed to black, and for the first time all night, every eye in that room saw me. The montage had ended, but the real story, the one behind all their smiles, was just beginning. The planner rushed toward the stage, her headset crackling with panic. "Apologies. Everyone, just a minor slideshow mix-up." She waved at the band, signaling them to start something cheerful. Callista appeared beside her, hand on the MC's arm, voice syrup-sweet. "Let's get back to celebrating," she said, smiling for the cameras but glaring at me. Maeve, still in control mode, gestured to the photographer, whispering, "Get her face when she cracks." I saw the setup clearly. The MC was her voice, the planner her shield, the camera her weapon, but I had something stronger than all of them, the venue's own rules. Silas stood frozen between the tables. I gave him a single nod. "Stay." He did. My heels clicked softly on the wood as I walked toward the center. No rush, no fury, just purpose. Callista lifted a chilled bottle from a silver tray. The cork popped, a burst of celebration that suddenly sounded wrong. Foam bubbled over the rim. "To family," she announced into the mic, eyes locked on me. "And knowing our place." Then she tilted the bottle. Deliberate and slow, champagne poured over my head, trickling cold down my neck. The room gasped. A few phones rose. A few mouths fell open. I didn't flinch. I reached into my tote, drew out a small white hand towel, dabbed once, and handed it to the MC without meeting his eyes. "Thank you, Callista," I said calmly, taking the mic from his hand. "Now we're very clear about places." Two older women stood from their seats with a soft, unified The cameras kept rolling, the laughter had vanished. I spoke clearly, my voice even. "I'm Eudora Vance, mother of the Groom. This venue's contract includes a guest harassment clause. Section 4C, I scrolled my phone, reading aloud. Any targeted humiliation triggers immediate review. Program changes cannot erase immediate family. Management may pause service pending assessment." The crowd stilled. I reached into my tote again and held up a sealed envelope. "And here's the notarized respect clause addendum attached to Silas and Callista's gift agreement, filed last month." I summarized for the audience. "Any public disparagement of my role voids all pending cash gifts, cancels the Harborview condo transfer, and reverts the family foundation grant." I set the envelope on the mic stand. No threat, just fact. This event just satisfied the trigger. From the doorway, the venue manager appeared, phone to his ear. The lights dimmed, the band leader lowered his horn. Callista's face twisted. "You can't do this. It's petty," Maeve hissed beside her. "You're ruining the night." I turned to the crowd instead. "Consequences aren't petty. They're proportional," one aunt murmured. "That's right, baby." Another followed. "Let the mother finish." A guest near the bar tapped the planner's tablet. "Harassment review. Now," he said. Silas met my eyes. His lips formed the words. "I'm sorry." I shook my head gently. "Later." The MC angled the mic toward me again without a word. The loyalty in the room had shifted. It wasn't loud, but it was complete. I lifted my phone, tapped play. "For transparency," I said. "This is a 33-second recording with a consenting party." The speakers filled the ballroom with Maeve's voice. "We crop Eudora out. Guests don't need the janitor storyline. Callista wants clean optics." Then Callista's own voice followed. "If she makes noise, I'll put her in her place. Pouring a bottle gets clicks." The sound hit harder than any shout. The venue manager stopped mid-call and motioned to security. The planner pressed her hand to her mouth. I paused the recording. "That's sufficient for the venue file and my counsel," I said softly. "No shouting required." I handed the mic to the manager. He spoke with a measured calm that only comes from policy. "Program paused for conduct review. Bar service suspended. Parties involved. Step with me." Callista grabbed Silas's arm, pleading. "You're not going with her, are you?" He looked from her to me. "Mama, where do you want me?" My voice stayed level. "Beside the truth, not behind me." He released her hand and walked toward the manager's office. Maeve searched for a lifeline and found nothing but cameras staring back. The planner whispered, "I'm sorry, Miss Vance." I nodded. "Do better after tonight. That's how apologies work." The band leader began a soft instrumental, something reverent, giving the room a pulse to breathe by. The manager gestured toward the office. "Miss Rourke, Miss Torrin, Miss Vance, Mr. Danner." I passed Callista, who still smelled faintly of her own spilled champagne, and said quietly, "You can sit through this, or you can stand up different." I didn't wait for her answer. I just kept walking, calm as the eye of a storm that had finally learned its own strength. Inside that office, the night broke, for good or for better, and I was done being the quiet lesson. The manager's office smelled faintly of toner and lemon cleaner, too clean for a night this messy. He slid a thick binder across the desk, tabs sticking out like silent witnesses. "Section 4C, guest harassment," he said, steady as a judge. "Section 5A, media integrity." His pen hovered. "Let's go on record." I spoke first, facts only. "Slideshow omissions, seating shift, mocking comments about placement, the champagne pour." My voice stayed calm, detached from the sting. Callista sat opposite me, her wedding dress now dulled by dried bubbles, saying, "It was a playful toast gone sideways." Maeve jumped in. "The audio was edited, completely out of context." The AV tech cleared his throat. "No, ma'am. Files came straight from room mics, time-coded." The manager nodded. Noting chain of custody, I asked for copies of every incident report, plus a preservation notice for all recordings. He looked at me, impressed. "You know procedure?" "Lived it," I replied. Outside the glass, my two aunts waited with tissues. I waved them off. "We'll handle this proper." 10 minutes later, policy turned to action. "Effective immediately," the manager said. "The program is suspended. Bar closed. All AV content frozen pending review." The planner gasped. "That's brand damage," he replied. "Policy before brand." Security asked Callista and Maeve to stay for written statements. No one was leaving until the file was complete. Any further attempt to target misses. "Vance ends the event outright," he warned. I spoke up. "Offer water and coffee to the guests. Keep it civil." He nodded, almost relieved someone still thought about decency. Silas asked to address the room for 1 minute. Permission granted. Out in the ballroom, murmurs spread like static. The MC tapped the mic. "We're taking a short pause for a conduct review." The phrase sounded bureaucratic but necessary. When Silas stepped forward, a few guests clapped instinctively. "Let's give staff a moment," he said. "Let's show respect." Near the bar, my aunts began humming a soft hymn, "This Little Light of Mine." The band joined quietly. One of Callista's bridesmaids slipped away and brought me a shawl. I accepted it with a nod. No words needed. Back in the office, I opened my tablet and forwarded the notarized Respect Clause addendum to Callista and the planner. Their phones buzzed, almost in unison. "Any public disparagement," I read. "Revokes pending transfers. Harborview condo. Family foundation grant and post-event checks. Assets revert to the Vance Community Health Fund." Red receipts appeared on my screen like confession lights. The planner blanched. She promised sponsors clean footage, not scandal. I called my bank, instructing a clawback of any wires sent after the timestamp of the incident. Callista shouted, "This is financial abuse!" I met her glare. "No, dear, it's a conditional gift. Conditions broke, so they return." The manager filed the copies, stamped them, and slid one to me. I sent a message to my board, redirect all of funds to a new mother's cardiac screening pilot. Turning insult into impact felt like oxygen. Maeve tried one last defense. "We'll file defamation," she said, chin trembling. The manager handed her a policy binder. "Complaint forms are in the back." Callista softened her voice, pivoting to PR charm. "We can still fix the optics." The manager didn't blink. "We fix safety first. Optics never—" The planner confessed the slideshow swap came from Maeve's directive, and the AV tech produced the timestamped text. I said nothing. Silence carried more weight than scolding. Silas finally asked, "Was humiliating my mother part of the plan?" The answer was silence thick enough to hear heartbeat against paper. "Later, in a side alcove," I told him. "This isn't about sides, it's about standards." He nodded, eyes wet. I saw it coming and let it slide. "Minimizing harm is how we make cruelty comfortable," I said. "Don't do that again." My tone wasn't anger. It was a mother's last teaching. "I won't bankroll erasure," I added. "If love wants room, it has to make room." Two aunts joined us, one resting her hand on mine. "You kept your voice. Sister, that's harder than shouting." I asked them to escort Callista later, not as punishment, but fairness. "She'll need witnesses, too," I said. I drafted 2 quick notes on my phone, one to the venue's ownership, another to the photographer's agency requesting preservation of all footage. A guest texted me a clip of the power from another angle. I saved it, logged time and source. The manager offered to file a trespass notice against Callista. "Not tonight," I said. "Grace isn't weakness, it's control." Meanwhile, the planner's insurance rep called. They might deny coverage for willful humiliation. Maeve paled. I flagged a potential sponsorship fraud issue. If this was staged cruelty for clicks, the FTC would love that trail. I also drafted a short statement for Silas's clinic in case gossip reached him Monday. Truth. Nothing more. The manager returned with 3 options: end the night, resume modified, or close with coffee and dessert. I told Silas. "Your marriage, your call. My boundary stands." He chose option 3. "We'll thank people and close respectfully." When he said it, his voice finally sounded like a man's, not a son's. Back at the mic, I spoke simply. "May kindness be the picture we keep from tonight." The band played a gentle standard. Couples swayed as the tension drained away. The photographer captured one frame of me and Silas, foreheads touching, eyes steady, real family, unposed, guests left quietly, coffee in hand. Older women squeezed my fingers and whispered, "Proud of you." The manager handed Callista the final incident form. "Initial here to acknowledge sanctions." She hesitated. Maeve hissed, "Don't sign." The manager replied, "Then we escalate." Her pen trembled above the page. The night held its breath. When ink touched paper, every dollar I'd promised took a deep, silent sigh of freedom. The pen trembled in Callista's hand, the gold nib hovering over the page like it feared truth. Maeve leaned in and whispered, "Don't sign." The venue manager, one unbothered, explained the escalation process in his steady voice. If the form remains unsigned, it proceeds to corporate counsel and may trigger liability for both hosts. I said nothing, just crossed one leg over the other, my silence louder than any threat. Silas broke it with a plain, uncoded question. Do you accept that you poured it? His tone left no room for spin. Callista's eyes darted between us, but she finally pressed the pen down, scrawling her name with a rigid hand. The sound of paper tearing from pressure was louder than the room's sigh. Incident 4721 confirmed, the manager said, filing it. I requested a PDF copy sent to my council archive. The AV tech confirmed timestamps and locked the content drives. Chain of custody complete. My phone was already open. I sent the venue acknowledgement and a digital preservation notice to the corporate address. Courtesy notice, I typed. Policy 4C applied appropriately. Thank you for cooperation. The planner messaged me privately. I'm filing my breach report, naming Maeve's directive. She attached a timeline. Within minutes, a sponsor representative joined a late-night call, confirming the influencer package Callista had promised included a viral, unscripted moment. When her tone went thin, that could constitute deceptive advertising. Then handle it, I said. Integrity sells longer than shock. I drafted an FTC advisory intake, not revenge, just prevention. My aunt, watching me cue the emails, whispered, "That's how grown women fight. Paper." I smiled. Exactly. The planner forwarded a file titled The Poor Herd Round the Room. Slides revealed a storyboard of humiliation beats, hashtags, and brand mentions. Metadata showed creation dates weeks before the wedding. The author tag read, Maeve Torin, one embedded rehearsal clip caught her saying, "Let it splash, internet loves shock." I logged everything into an evidence drive, attached checksum verification, and sent copies to my counsel and the venue. The sponsor rep's voice came sharp through the phone. Brand contract terminated immediately. Clawback clause activated, I replied. Thank you for prioritizing integrity, not triumph, just closure. An alert buzzed. My bank confirmed the freeze on all conditional gifts. Funds rerouted to the Vance Community Health Fund. My attorney replied minutes later with a draft non-disparagement and restitution agreement. Acceptance window 72 hours. The venue manager issued his final note. Reception closed per host choice. Sanctions complete. The photographer uploaded neutral frames, all humiliating shots quarantined under Policy 5A. Silas sat beside me, eyes lowered over the agreement. You really built walls that can't be scaled, he said softly. Boundaries, not walls, I corrected. They keep peace inside. I took the mic one last time. May we all leave better than we arrived. It wasn't a benediction, just a reminder. The applause was gentle, sparse but sincere. Women my age reached out, squeezing my hand as they passed. We see you, one said. I nodded, holding eye contact for the first time that night. Callista stood near the exit, phone in hand, scrolling for power that wasn't there. Maeve's glare flickered out under fluorescent truth. I left without looking back. You don't reclaim dignity by staring at what broke it. At dawn, my kitchen smelled of coffee and quiet. Silas sat across from me, jacket off, eyes heavy. I ignored the warnings, he admitted. I thought peace meant silence. I stirred sugar into my mug. Peace means receipts, baby, not excuses. He smiled sadly. Is love still possible? Love's possible, I said. When it works as hard as I do, start Monday. He nodded, pocketing the addendum he planned to hand-deliver to his attorney. Grown man choices. Finally, the next ping was swift. Sponsor termination confirmed. Planner's insurer declined coverage for willful humiliation. And Maeve's firm launched an HR review. I replied to my foundation board. Funds for mother's cardiac screenings approved. We turn harm into help. Then I boxed the jeweled hairpin I'd once meant for Callista and labeled it for the clinic charity auction. There's a satisfaction in letting something sparkle for someone who needs it. My final thought came as sunlight hit the kitchen window. If you pour shame on a woman who built the table, I murmured, don't be surprised when she takes the table with her. My phone buzzed again. Morning show request for comment. I typed 3 lines instead. No interviews, just policy, proof, and peace. At 9:02 a.m., The apology arrived, signed specific, and just a little too late. The next morning, a courier knocked, holding not flowers, but a thick envelope marked confidential. Legal notice. I paused, coffee halfway to my lips. As Silas read the sender's name aloud, my breath caught. It wasn't Callista. It was Maeve, and inside, the real game might just be beginning.